Hi, and very welcome to the Being Connected podcast. If this is your first time here, very welcome. I am your host, Anna Mia, and today's episode, I'm diving into how to become your future self. And I think that this is super relevant for the year 2025, because everything is starting to shift for you. If you don't feel it already, you will start to feel it at some point this year, is my prediction. So not only does the planets move in the sky in a constellation that we have not seen before, and this will in some way affect you, often in different areas of your life. And the reason why I wanted to do this episode for you is I have a little thought that you already feel that something is changing. Maybe you have been looking at your colleagues lately, or your job description, or your relationship with your spouse. Maybe it's your house. Maybe it's where you live. Maybe you want to move someplace else. Maybe you want to take up some new hobby. You want to start cooking more. You want to exercise. You have different thoughts this year than you had last year. So one of the things to navigate more in, how do you become more that version of your future self? And maybe you just feel this. And right now, I have, when you sign up for my newsletter at the Being Connected podcast, I have a free journaling guide to take you with really good prompts to take you through different areas of your life to ask and answer. So you get more aware, what is it I need in my life? Because saying I want to become my future self, that sounds fluffy, doesn't it? What does that mean, and where do you start? So to start becoming more your future self, you have to have some idea of what is it I want the next chapter of my life to be. Because the future self, the future you, will always move, because we keep growing. When you're not growing, you're not evolving. So the future self, the future you, will always be in a forward motion, going toward the next chapter in your life. For me, as a manifestor, I do this all the time, have done my whole life. I do things when I have the urge to do that. So I have creative urges. I want to build and create, share knowledge about something I have learned. And then I do that. And then I move to the next chapter. That's not very difficult for me. That's my DNA of a manifestor. But I can see that many people has difficulties doing that, changing, even though it's just changing your job. I have conversations with young people who are having a hard time navigating in this world. And I totally get that. This society box is hard for the young people and for the kids born into this world as we speak. This box will not fit them. So it has to change, and of course it will change. And it's gonna be harder for adults who are very set in their ways. We have done this for 30 years, so we are gonna keep doing this in this way. Well, friend, it will crumble. So join in the movement and take control over your life. You have the power to create your life and your happiness. You do not have to suffer. In this life, you do not have to suffer. You can do and choose what you want. And remember, when you're not changing, you're still choosing. That's still a choice. So when you want to become a new you, or you have a vision, or you have a desire, Or maybe it's just a feeling that you want to feel happier. I want to feel happy in my life. I want to have good friends. I want to have a good spouse. I want to have a good marriage. I want to have a good relationship with my kids. I want to have kids. I want to move. I want to move abroad, I want to live in another country. Okay, so what can that look like? What is your desire? What do you want? You are totally in a position where you can get what you want. But of course, there's a little mindset to this, because if you don't believe it, or maybe you feel like everything is never going your way, maybe your cup is half full or half empty. That's a saying we have. Is your cup half full or is it half empty? So that's a way of looking at it. Some people see rainy days all the time. I am currently located in Denmark, and in Denmark it's often windy, and it's also rainy. But you know what? I have horses and I'm out all the time, every day almost. Am I out and riding and walking intentionally with my horses? But you know what? It's not that rainy and it's not that windy. So in 2025, a thing I noticed even back in December is it's not that windy anymore. Mostly it's super windy in Denmark, but it's not at the moment, and it hasn't been for almost 3 months. So something is changing. The rain is not coming in as it usually is. You can have a locked mindset about the weather because you're looking at the weather from inside your couch. And when you're looking from inside your couch, looking out and oh, it's cold and oh, is it rainy and stuff like that. But when you get out there, you know what? There's a lot of rain and most of it you can actually be in. It's the way you look at it. And that's regarding everything in your life. Who do you want to become in the future? Do you want to be more resilient to the weather so you can go out more, change your hormones in the body? Or do you want to move? Do you want to change your location? Do you want to sell your house and get an apartment in the city? Do you want to move in the countryside? Get a horse? I can for sure say that's a very good idea. So what is it you want to do? You have to have some clarity around what is it that you want to do. If it sounds interesting, get this free journaling guide when signing up to my newsletter. I will put the link in the show notes. It's totally free and you are so welcome to join and to kickstart your journey towards your future self. So what we do here is we start to get the vision of how can we connect to some of the things we want in the future. Let's take an example. We want to change location. The place we live is not the place for us. We can tell that we want to do something else. Okay, so connecting with what does it mean where I live? What does that mean for me? Is it important that I can commute to work within 10 minutes, or is it okay that it takes an hour? What do I need in my soul? Do I want to be in the countryside? For me, I'm in the Danish countryside. I am still pretty close to Copenhagen, so I can drive to Copenhagen within 30 minutes. But for me, staying in the countryside, having some peace of quiet, seeing the birds, looking at the spring, looking out on the fields, watching the horses in the summertime, having the cats around. That's important for my peace of mind. But what is important to you? Is it important that you live in an area where your kids can drive to school, or your husband is close to his work? What is important to you? You have to start connect to that vision of what is it I want here? I can pick free from the top shelf. So what do I want? The next thing to look at, I call it act if today. So when you start to connect and you have clarified what you want in your future life? What do you need to get more into your future self? Maybe you want to change your person. And if you're following me around here, probably you want to change something within yourself. That can totally be done. I hope that my content will support you in that journey, because you are meant to be happy. You are meant to live a great life. You do not have to suffer in your life. You do not have to go out and do the 9 to 5 every single day if that's not for you. Of course, we have to pay the bills, but I will get around to that so that you can start to see how having more freedom in your everyday life is totally doable. When you start to connect with this vision of the location, you will start to say, act if today. What do my future self living in this new location, what does she do? What does he do? What would you do tomorrow when waking up in that new location, in your house or your farm in the countryside? What does that feel like? What do you do? What morning routines do you have? Do you start the day opening the door? You can hear peace of mind. The sun is coming out and you have your tea or coffee, going onto the deck, just sitting there, enjoying the sun, doing some journaling, being even more specific on the next area to evolve into. How do you feel when you do the act ifs? Act if you are there already today. So even though you're not there, it's super powerful to start to create images in your brain. The brain is plasticity. So you can shape, evolve that brain, even if it has suffered trauma or something else. The brain is plasticity. When we know this, and when you can build pictures in your mind, it's a very powerful tool, because your brain does not know the difference between reality or the picture that you keep running in your brain. And that's why we want to be super connected to the future we want. We want to be able to know exactly what we want to do this. Keep running the pictures in the mind, because your brain doesn't know if it's real or if it's now, which means that it's so much easier to attract because it's already real. So when you attract and you run the pictures in the brain, you'll attract your goals. That's an excellent exercise. I do that with everything in my life. I run pictures, and then you can say, okay, because the thing that the human being experience can be super good at is impatience. So my friend, stop being impatient. The universe has a very large guitar with lots of strings on it, right? And you do not know how this is gonna evolve for you. So when you run a picture in your mind and you want it to be done by Friday, you cannot do that, because your job is to create it in your mind, thinking about it, doing the act if, and running that program. When you wake up, when you go to bed, brainwash yourself with your visions of becoming your new future you. So impatience, you don't get to decide when you get it, because the universe is responsible for doing it, so it's good for everybody, you know? It didn't work. I hadn't gotten it by Friday, so it doesn't work. Don't be like that. Don't be impatient. Being impatient is human. That's your human being, which is being impatient. So you have to put that aside. Know that everything that you want You can create and it will come to you in the right time. Sometimes we have to go through something. I can do this picture for you. Let's say you have a valley and your life is like a valley, isn't it? It's like these rhythms. So it's going up and it's going down. It's like a biorhythm. Your life moves in rhythms. Sometimes everything is good and then something happens and it's not overly good. No, but you will walk past it. You will work through it and then everything is going to be good again. That's a biorhythm that your life is. It's like that. It's movable. It's energy. So when you get impatient about something you want to have now, just know that if you don't get it right away, there might be something that you need to learn first. And that can very well have something to do with appreciation and abundance. If you do not appreciate things, if you are not happy with what you have and you just want more stuff, that's more ego-related thinking. It's okay to want stuff. The law of attraction does not separate us like that. You can for sure have all the materialistic things that you want and you can have that. That's an ego thing. When you want stuff and you are not happy when you get it, somebody can want all these materialistic stuff, no worries. But if you don't appreciate it, okay, so I got it, wink, next. So maybe there's a lesson here for you to stop being impatient and start to look around and appreciate what you have. Start by appreciating that there's no wind. You can actually hear every little mouse in the grass and you can hear the birds. Sometimes you can just hear the footprints in the snow when you're walking. And that's not materialistic, but it will fill up your soul if you start to practice it. And when you want to practice stuff like this, you will get better at the act ifs in the journaling guide. You want to act if you are in your future you. So by starting doing simple exercises, stop having an opinion about when you want to receive it and start showing gratitude for what you experience right now. That also lowers the inflammation when you start to breathe in and out and enjoying the sun and just listening to what's around you. It's a little short form of meditation. It gives you the power to lower inflammation. You get out of your head, stop overthinking, you lower the inflammation by just being. And that's one of the most difficult parts, I think people say, because they get impatient. And you know what? That's totally human to be impatient. And I can for sure be impatient. But every time I notice that, breathe, listen, what's in my presence? Wow, did I get to experience this? I have a wonderful story. I was in the woods with my daughter in the beautiful, frosty, snowy winter weather. We were walking and you could hear the footprints in the snow, the sounds here and the sun on the face. It was super cold, but it was so refreshing. And because the sun was so intense on the snow, it looked like 1,000 diamonds. So we were like walking on diamonds. And I said to my daughter, look at that. Look at all the diamonds. It's just like, how is this not richness? How is this not wealth? And it has nothing to do with money. But isn't it richness? To have that experience, and you can tell I get all excited about it. And we were walking here and we were just talking. She was telling me stories. And then all of a sudden, I found a note, a 200 bill note. The road, the diamond road we were walking actually led to physical money right there. So I was like, no way, no way. And my daughter was jumping up and down, and we were both jumping up and down and giving each other high five because we know what this was. That was just a super simple exercise of enjoying what is around you and how that actually led to money in the physical world. That was a little story for you. I hope that you will take this story and try and do that as well for yourself, because many of us live in countries where, of course, everything has gone up, the pricing has gone up. We have leaders around the world making it a little unsafe. But just know that fear is not gonna bring you anywhere, because fear or happiness is something that you choose for yourself. And many people do not have to be fearful. We still live in a world, yes, it's uncertain, yes, it's more expensive, but then turn down your habits. You do not have to go out 4 times a month eating on fancy restaurants. You can quit that. You can stop drinking wine, for instance. Maybe you should consider that. Maybe alcohol is not a part of your future self. That's a prompt. Is that a part of your future self, alcohol? Can you see that if you actually drink good wine now and you quit that, that can release money? Every time you think of when it's tough, it has to do with your standard of living. And when things get tough, we should not keep the same curve of expenses. Drive the expenses down instead. Get an overview. What is important to me? Because a lot of people's egos are surrounding in big houses. We have to have these cars. We have to have all these wines, or we have to do this. Sure, and you can do that if your budget allows it. But if you get scared and you want to go and change that, look at what you have, lower your expenses, start appreciating what is around you. We still have peace in most parts of the world. There are still peace. The only place I won't say the word, but we are in peace in most places of the world, even though it's uncertain. But fear is not the feeling that you want to run in your brain. Can you see how that's not a good choice? When you can tell that fear is coming up or you get nervous, have the focus of driving down your expenses, centering yourself, appreciating what's around you. That's a super active, action-taking thing to do, lower your expenses. And the other one is for peace of mind. It lowers the inflammation in the brain. Cold plunges as well. That lowers the inflammation. Riding in the forest or just walking with a good friend, your kid, your spouse. Walking and just looking at what is here is also lowering the inflammation. That is some action steps you can do right there, right now, today, to feel better. Maybe this is a part of your future self. Maybe you're not sure where to start and begin. Remember, you can press the link in the show notes and you get this free journaling guide. You do not have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. You do have to have some kind of idea that this is doable. And now you know that your brain is all plasticity. You also know that the pictures you run in the mind, the brain does not know what is real and what is imaginary. What images do you want to run in the world? Run the happy moments. You can choose to have a full cup and not an empty cup. There is more sunshine than rain. if you want to look at it. And most of everything we do should be out of the head and in the body. So these exercises I gave for you today is all about taking action, knowing where you want to create from and where you want to go. I root for you. If this episode in any way gave you some value, please comment, give it a review. Also, like, share, follow. It does help me grow and to make more content. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day.